Hey, what's going on, guys? So today I'm going to bring you the Denver Broncos and some of the things that I did see as far as the Denver Broncos and trying to create a number and total for the Denver Broncos this year. So just to let you know, I do have a 2.5 plus a 48.5. That's a negative 2.5 and a 48.5 for the total going into the season for the Denver Broncos. Some of the things that I did see from Denver, looking at the totals, obviously, um, they didn't go over 50 in many of the games, but they didn't have Russell Wilson. And what is Russell Wilson going to contribute to the Denver Broncos? On average, he's been averaging 29 touchdowns this season. As far as yardage, that's 37.5 as far as yardage is concerned. And these are just averages. He can do better if his wide receivers are better, and which I do think their wide receivers are going to be just the same or slightly better than what he did have in Seattle. Plus, he do have a better run game, and the defense in the with the Denver Broncos is better. Now, I was looking at this and I'm like, all right, most of these teams didn't score over 50. Let's see if the defense was doing their job. When it came to teams that were under 500 last year, they did their job. They held these teams, they held them down. Maybe it's the schedule, but they didn't put up that many points. So I started looking, all right, let's look at the other teams. Baltimore, they scored 23. Pittsburgh scored 27 on them. Philadelphia scored 30. So with that being said, these teams here with Russell Wilson, these games probably would go over 50 points if Russ was playing that season, just to be clear. Also, this Browns team, they only scored 3 points, but here are the games that we have to look at as far as the spread is concerned. The Browns, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Raiders, and the Kansas City Chiefs. Those games, if Russ was playing, those can easily turn around and be wins. Those might have been wins with the amount of production and the contribution with Russell Wilson in these games. So, with that being said, what are we looking at as far as a total for the season? Maybe a 10-7, 11-6 season for the Denver Broncos. We're going to get into the opponents in a second. But looking at the games that they did play, these games are under the 50 points as far as the total is concerned, are under. So these games are teams who are under 500. Now, this Dallas Cowboys team, one of the things to note, they really haven't last year they haven't beaten anybody worth beating, starting with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and then all the teams that was over 500, they kind of lost to. So I'm looking at them to keep that trend up, especially since they got they went down as far as wide receiver ranking for their team. And you do have a wide receiver out that he was a up and coming rookie, but the rookie is out for 6 to 8 weeks, so they're not going to have his services for a while. And I think Gallup, he was out for a little time as well. We'll see if he comes back week 1, but looking at that right now, yeah, I mean, we'll see with this first game. If they are able to beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, then we can take them a little more serious. But with that being said, they handled business with the teams they were supposed to handle business with. Now, with the harder teams, this is kind of like mid-level teams. They kind of struggled a little bit, but most of these games were close. And with Russ back there, these games would be even closer. So I think a negative 2.5 is a good number for the Denver Broncos. And let's go into the opponents for the season. So first off, looking at the schedule, they have a really good schedule. Starting off, obviously you have your divisional opponents going into it. So you have Seattle, Texas. Those teams are going to be under 500. Those teams, I still have a lot of work to do especially Seattle, his former team, they still have a lot of work to do to get better. The San Francisco team, now you have QB controversy. I don't know if Garoppolo's starting or Trey Lance. They're pushing more towards Trey Lance, and Trey Lance hasn't been proven, in my opinion, yet. I have to see a full season with this guy playing in the NFL, putting up good numbers for me to even trust him. So I'm going with Denver for this game. With that being said, before I even say Denver with this game, even though you do have a rookie, well, he's not a rookie, this is his second year, but you do have a fresh quarterback in there, a newer quarterback, and I always go with experience, but you are facing the Raiders team the week prior, and that division is nothing to play with. You have to be on point, or else you're going to find yourself at the butt end of this division, and nobody wants to be there. So I'm looking at them maybe take the points with San Fran in this game because they have a big game ahead. And with that being said, you have the Colts right in the middle of two division games in the hardest division that we're going to have this season in the NFL. So the Colts may be able to sneak a win, or not even sneak a win, but probably take this game and run with it. Because if I was the coach, in my mind, I'll focus on these divisional opponents a lot more. So depending on the division, let's go ahead and talk about the Raiders, the Chargers, and the Chiefs. So I'm looking at Denver to be 1-1 with the team. There's no complexity there. So if they end up losing here, I want them to win the next one. And same thing with here. If they end up winning or losing, they're going to do the opposite. So 1-1. But after this Chargers game, they face the Jets, the Jags, some practice teams. Then you go with Tennessee. Okay, practice is over. Let's really start playing a little more. But you have the Raiders right there now. So, all right, we're going to practice for this Tennessee Titans, or are we just going to keep focusing on this Raiders team and trying to find up schemes? So, in my opinion, off a bye, Tennessee Titans, go out there, play, don't work so hard. Let's get ready to play next week for the Raiders. In my opinion, that's what I would do if I was head coach. Also, you have the Carolina Panthers. But then again, if Russ is cooking, he's just gonna just bull through teams. Now, this is all about the team's momentum and the head coach's philosophy. And I'm just gonna sit here and say I'm just gonna watch what the head coach is doing. And if I feel like the head coach is taking more emphasis on these divisional opponents next week, then that's where I'm going to start worrying about the team beforehand. But if they're just rolling over teams, I'm not really going to worry about, all right, they're going to get prepared, all right? They're going to get prepared. But then again, you have a newer head coach with the Denver Broncos too. You really don't know where his mindset is. And that's where I'm trying to figure out what's your philosophy and what you're trying to do. Also, you have the Carolina Panthers. Then you got the Ravens getting ready to face another divisional opponent with the Chiefs. I mean, again, here we go. What are we looking at? The Chiefs. You definitely want to beat the Chiefs. The Cardinals, the Rams, those are going to be hard games. I'm looking at, no matter what the situation is, the Rams have the edge in this game right here. Week 16, the Rams have the edge. I'm sorry to say. But now you have the Chiefs and the Chargers. Again, whatever they did in the weeks beforehand, I'm looking at them to do the opposite. So with that being said, let's talk about, let's get into power rankings. Also, excuse me. Also, let's go back to the opponents. Just a note, in the division, I'm looking at them all to go over 50. So if you want to tease those down to like 47, 48 region, I think you should be fine if you're looking for a two-team or two-team teaser if you need one. So I'm looking at all of these games to go over 50 points. Now, looking at my power rankings, I have the Chiefs finishing last in that division. Here's why. Chiefs last year, their defense was depreciating. Their defense really didn't do what I expected them to do. So I was kind of concerned. They did trade away Hill, which it's a team when it comes to football, but Hill did make some tough catches, and they were kind of worried about him. But they did have a replacement in Scaling. And the thing about him is he's fast, but can he catch the football? Are they going to take him serious? So if he does burn somebody, he can leave him on one-on-one coverage. If he can't catch a pass without being covered, do you really expect him to catch a pass being covered? So that may mess with the Chiefs a little bit. They still have a good running back in Edward Claire. So I think Andy Reid can probably push him to a couple more wins. With that being said, I'm looking at them to finish at least third in the bottom. If they're not last, they're definitely going to finish at least third in their division. I can't see them. I can't see them getting any higher, other than if the Denver Broncos head coach totally just chokes. That's the only way I can see it. But with that being said, that's all I have for you today. And again, the Chiefs defense last year, they were giving up a bunch of points. And you're like, hey, what's going on? A couple games they could have won. Defense gave up the points, especially since they had a couple departures off that defense as well. But that the defensive line is looking strong. I'm not gonna lie, they did get some big guys on that defensive line. So as far as pressure and as far as run stopping is concerned, they should be all right. As far as passing, it might have a little issue with that. They did just get Danny Shelton. They also did get, who else? Who you have on that team? I think is Jones. No, Jones played for the Raiders. I have to look, but they do have a good defensive line. Just to have that in your notes going into the future. So that being said, I'm not going to take up too much more of your time. Like, subscribe, share, but most importantly, bet wisely. I appreciate you guys for watching.